Dr. Sam and Dr. Endo, shall we start?
Okay, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Very well.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the online symposium on consumer behavior and food waste. I am Dr. Cheng Kaiwa. I am your online symposium moderator today. First and foremost, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being here today. This online symposium is brought to you by Faculty of Business and Communications, INTI International University. Before we proceed further, I would like to highlight on the participants' guideline during the online symposium. Number one, for technical and quality purposes, please keep your microphone muted throughout the online symposium to avoid any distractions. Only the speakers would be able to use the microphone. Number two, for record purposes, you are required to fill in the attendance form at the end of the online symposium. Only the confirmed participants will receive the certificates of participations from our secretariats. Number three, if you have any questions, please leave your message in the chat box. Your questions will be answered during the Q&A sessions. Thank you very much for your cooperations. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of this online symposium are to discuss the psychology of food waste and the decision-making processes that lead to wasteful behaviors, as well as to provide valuable insight into the complex interplay of social, economics, and cultural factors that contribute to food waste and offer potential solutions guided in social science research and analysis. The objectives of these online symposiums are also in line with Sustainable Development Goal SDG number 2, which is zero hunger, and SDG number 12, which is responsible consumptions and productions. Today, we are very happy to have two honorable speakers with us during the online symposiums. Let's welcome Dr. Endo Wijaya Kartika from Petra Christian University, Indonesia, and Dr. Samsul Azhari Zana Badari from University Putra, Malaysia. Welcome all. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite Dr. Endo Wijaya Kartika at Petra Christian University, Indonesia, to begin these sessions. Please welcome Dr. Endo Wijaya Kartika.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cheng. Thank you very much also, Dr. Samsul. So let me start first our discussion today. Okay, so I'd like the permission to share my material. Okay. Can you see my slide? Yeah, already?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Cheng, for the time. So I would like to share a little bit about my experience, also about our research, especially in food waste behavior. I would like to emphasize today learning from Surabaya, our city. So my name is Indo Wijaya from the Hotel Management Program, School of Business Management, Petra Christian University, Surabaya. So first of all, thank you very much, Dr. Cheng. You remind me about the SDG that our focus actually comes into two focus point of zero hunger and also responsible consumption and production. So what I would like to share, would like to describe first some of the research, also part of it, but also maybe I'm not support directly as an author, but maybe some of our students, so part of as an examinee and some kind like that. Okay, so first of all, as we can see that Surabaya, we come from Surabaya, it's the second largest city after Jakarta. And actually, we are blessed with additional development, especially in food waste. But first of all, I would like to share a bit about our progress or our city progress. So actually, prior to pandemic during 2018, that our city got the appreciation from United Nations Environment Program delegation for the best practice in waste management. Actually, during, as you can see in the picture, the number two from the left is our former mayor, Bu Risma, is one of, right now, currently, she is our Minister of Social and Welfare. So during her time, we have a lot of improvement, especially in environment things and also in food waste management. So some prominent landmark that we have in Surabaya right now is a landfill gas power plant in western area of Surabaya, which convert the waste into the power plant as a power plant from waste. And Bank Sampah, you see that this is one of the quite prominent things because our government collaborate with local communities, so people will try to use the recycled things. For the example, we have Surabaya bus. It's a public transport by bus that our people don't have to pay it with money, but only exchange by with a plastic bottle, some kind like that. So actually, this comes some kind of good implementation from our government, and also food bank in Surabaya, well known as a Garda Pangan. So three main emphasis for them is food rescue. So actually, they are dealing with some hotel or restaurants are strictly about the hygiene things. So they try to negotiate to reprocess the food instead of being directly thrown away as a dispose. So they will distribute that for those who needs, and for the most important things, the third is the education for the Surabaya people. Actually, that's a quite a good progress right now. But during 2023, after we try to update our condition these days, uh, currently up to 2,000 tons waste per day that happen in the whole city of Surabaya, and more than 50% actually is come from food waste. As one also for emphasize my point is I try to find some YouTube channel. Actually, this is not a good YouTuber. Actually, this is just YouTuber wannabe. But one things that I would like to share that in our local wet market, people sometimes this is like a challenge that they will scavenge something good ingredients, especially for the fresh ingredients that can be found in the waste area. So actually, this is some kind of like is unnecessary behavior from the seller, especially for the fresh. As you can see that actually some of the cucumber, also the vegetable actually is quite fresh, but this is actually not to be sold, but this is in the dispose area. So this is kind of like some problems that are really happening right now in Indonesia. So I would like to discuss from the academic research perspective. So currently, I emphasize into different perspective from the organization, also in individuals. So in total, we have around five research already, but the major is all about the food waste behavior. The first thing from organization perspective, one of my colleague, Mr. Hanja Syaputra, with our students, so they try to find out from the our local restaurant, especially a prominent restaurant. So the results show that the waste is considered above the normal weight. So it's almost 50% from the total daily waste come from the food waste. And the other is actually something that disposable things like plastic bag and some kind like that, which is the top contributor were the process actually during the standard operating procedures, like the strict of the hygiene factor things, and also maybe something about the cutting part of the ingredients, which comes the smaller part, they will not use it again, which is actually mainly happen in pre-production, which action should have been taken to avoid loss actually. So the problem come from the human factor So this is one of part of the result of this research. And the second, from Suistewati and Astuti, 2019, it's also about the restaurant food waste, but there's some surprising part and a little bit funny part that some of this food waste actually is unmanaged, it's unsorted or unsecreted. Actually, they have separated trash bin, which is come to the funny things. The number two is sorted to be mixed up again. So I think this is fairly happen in Indonesia, while the all the chef or everyone try to separate all the trash, and finally in the end of the day they mix it up again everything. So it's some kind of like a useless effort for us to do, and mostly that's because of human factor and dependency on waste collector mood. So, for example, there's some composting bin that's supposed we put it in the composting bin because they are too lazy or maybe they're too busy, and then sometimes they say, okay, I'm not in the mood to do that, and just directly go to the landfill. So there's a lot of problems like that. So actually, that's quite silly, but that's the result of our research. And the other is our research come from the individual perspective. This is quite interesting as empirical evidence happens that eating behavior actually leads to food waste behavior. So food waste behavior it resulted that affected by religious understanding. So for some Indonesian who had a higher religious understanding, they will appreciate food because they are also a part of you know that appreciation for food is considered as a sin. So it's something like an interesting result. And food waste behavior also affected by, actually it's like a culture to avoid embarrassment. So maybe in Indonesia, especially maybe for me in a Chinese culture, we also if we try to entertain a guest and then we try to, fulfill everything they need, and sometimes excessive order happen because to appreciate our guests. And also the same, but in contrary, some Indonesian people see that sometimes if I finish all my food, it seems considered that maybe I you know you know eat too much or something. So it's a point of embarrassing. So this is one eating behavior that actually considered also the main factor from the human. And some of our respondents also have the perception that food waste is a common thing, although they understand that's not a good habit, but they still do it anyway. So it's some kind of like a perception that we have to change. And lastly, yeah, sometimes a little bit about women. So food waste is pretty small by women, especially because they have excessive food order, but they eat less. So that's one kind of quite interesting result. And also by my colleagues Saputra Angela and Syaputra. Actually, this is focused on the generation C. Uh, we use the theory of planned behavior, but the interesting that only one factor, only one variable that really significantly affect the food waste reduction intention, which is perceived behavioral control. So, in short, we consider that Generation C, they will do it if they want to. If not, maybe there's something problem because the conclusion see that they not feel difficult to control themselves, especially from wasting food. So there's some kind of like interesting things that maybe happen during our research. And lastly, this is about housewife food waste behavior. Interestingly, that most of our respondents actually they have a higher education background, or even some also the lecturer actually, but still there are still unmanaged the food waste if in the whole in their household, and top three reasons were often too busy to do, too lazy to do, or sometimes it's just a classic cliche what is it excuse that didn't know how to do that. So I think this is some kind of currently happen in our condition in Surabaya. So as the final thought, my proposition, because this is still in a, this research could be happen more, and we should elaborate more, and some kind of food for thought that First, we still have insufficient data representative, especially for the majority population of Surabaya people. So, our proposition that this is only the tip of the iceberg, since we're not represent yet the real and the bigger problems as we found earlier, as I mentioned in the traditional market and stuff like that. So I think that behavior also almost similar, but maybe could be worse. And second, my proposition is there's inconsistent effort between stakeholder actually. Our government actually already support with some kind of like what we call it like intervention system or some kind like that to make sustainable things. But actually the citizens and also the community is not yet in the same frequency. So I think will be one of the major things that we need to elaborate more to, extensively to research further. And the third one, the problem, as I try to make some general conclusions that the problem is in individual mindset problem. So I would like to use the term ignorance and negligence, which is actually they're aware of some things, but still they're not doing anything about it. And lastly, maybe it's just like a thought for us. I'm try to use the stimulus organism response perspective. So we should conduct some research that with kind of intervention that will be most suitable for our people, especially to, develop some kind of this kind of behavior, especially in food waste reductions. So I think maybe that's my short sharing, Dr. Cheng. I will disappoint that. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Endo Wijaya Kartika. Next, let's welcome Dr. Samsul Azahari Zana Badari at University Putra Malaysia to proceed the next segment. Please welcome Dr. Samsul Azahari Zana Badari. Unmute, Doctor. Unmute.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Cheng, for inviting me. Anyway, let me share my slide first. Macam Dr. Cheng dia tak masuk.
Oh,
Right, dia.
okay. Ada nampak tak? Ada. Yes. Nampak.
Okay,
Nampak.
Let me. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Cheng, for your invitation. So today I will talk about consumer behavior and food waste based on the Malaysian situation. Okay, let me introduce myself first. My name is Dr. Shamsul Azhari bin Zainal Badari from Department of Resource Management and Consumer Studies, Faculty of Human Ecology, Institute of Malaysia. So my field is in the food and consumer health. So regarding with the food waste, this is a part of what we need to know about. So let's see. When we said about food waste, Normally, the food waste is the any kind of food that is human consumed that is not eaten by the human itself, and it was wasted and lost, and not only the food that consumers don't finish at restaurant and are thrown out at home, but also the raw materials and produce that are lost in the farming stage, harvesting processes during transportation, and also the storage itself. So for my presentation today, so I will go through the summary of the food waste in the global as a perspective. Then we go to the Malaysian perspective. So when we say about food waste, this is where the food get lost or wasted, and we can see here. From the farm stage itself, about 11%, yeah, 11%. The after harvest about 8%, processing during the processing of the food itself 1%, during the storage 6%, and the home and restaurant itself is about 10%. It's quite high, yeah, for the home and restaurant itself. But based on the global aspect, we can see here that most of the food waste, every year, 1/3 of the global food supplies are wasted. It's about 40%, yeah, 40% of the food, or 2.5 billion tons worldwide. Meaning that this wasted food can be supplied to those that need. It's about 3 million, I think. 3 million of the people, 3 billion of the people in worldwide can consume this food. So can you imagine, how many of us wasted lots? Even though in Malaysia also, after this I will show how about Malaysian situation. And also we can see here the significant effect of the environment itself. When we are wasted food, at the same time it will give the humanitarian crisis. So when you say about humanitarian crisis here, people will get food that in for the higher prices, even though it's happened right now. I'm sure in Indonesia also happened with the increase of the rice, the price of the rice, right? So also it happened in Malaysia. Can you imagine? Because of this, people try to get some advantage. So it's quite good if we can reduce the food waste, so that after this I will show you how we as a consumer can do our budgeting, especially during the purchasing of food itself, so that we can also reduce the food waste during that time. So based on this also, we can see that the increment of the world population will increase the demand of food to 70%. So the failure to keep up with the food demand will create a food shortage and humanitarian crisis. So when the food shortage, so the problem is the food price. When the food price increase, some of the people, especially for the low income group of the consumer itself, cannot support or cannot buy food that is healthy for them. That is one of the reasons why food waste need to be, we need to reduce the food waste itself. And when we see here, in the developed countries, about more than 40% of the food losses occur during the retailer and at the consumer level, and also in household. But in developing countries, 40% of the food losses occur during the post-harvest and processing stages. So when we see countries with the dense population, such as China and India, will produce most of the household food waste every year. However, when we say about the per capita, per capita meaning that per person, most of the country that waste food, the higher one is Nigeria, Greece, and Australia. For example, here in Australia itself, per person will waste their food about 102 kilogram per year. Compared to China, it's about 64 kilogram per year per person. Yeah, so we can see here. When we compare with the even though the dense population of countries with the small not the small one, so that's quite big also, but with the low population, they consume or they wasted lots of the food compared with the country that has high population here. Yeah, and also in US, for example, yeah, in US we can see here a lot of the consumer there throw food because of the appearance. If they see that food like veggies and fruits is not in a proper one, is not in the good appearance, they will throw them away. So meaning that that food should be can be eaten, but it is not consumed by themselves. So it shows that the country like developed country like US, Australia itself, more focusing on food that is like what you call that, the appearance of the food is very nice to them. Yeah. So next is okay. In Malaysia, let's say in Malaysia. So in Malaysia, based on the statistic that given by Solid Waste Management and Public Cleansing Corporation, here we call it as a WCOP. In these 3 years, shows that about 17 tons food was waste per day in 2021. There is no statistic yet in 2022, but in 2021, about 17 tons of the food waste thrown by consumer per day. And from this, we can see about 4 tons, 4 tons of the food itself can be eaten, meaning that it still can be eaten. So every day in Malaysia, most of the consumer don't eat food, not say enough food, but normally in Malaysia we have a lot of food, but some of them overconsumption, meaning that they consume food that they are like it, they consume food that are tasty for them, but not for others' food. Yeah, so lots of the people throw their food because of the one of the reasons the Malaysian culture itself. You can see we have a lot of type of food that we can choose for our consumption every day. Yeah. So what happens if we not control our food intake? So this is happen also lah, meaning that the food cannot be used, and we are, for example, we are not apa orang kata tu, kita menidakkan, we are not allowed other people to have that kind of food. So that's why right now, for the government itself, especially among the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, try to give Malaysian population to have food by use the Rahmah menu. So Rahmah menu is about all the people can buy food with the low price. However, it depends. It depends because some of the restaurant think that Rahmah food is not give apa orang kata keuntungan kepada mereka because of the price of the food right now in the market is very high. Then even though, for example, right now rice itself For the local rice, it's quite difficult to get, so they need to buy the imported rice that they need to spend double for their business. That's why the Rahmah food or Rahmah menu right now, it cannot be tolerate more because of the increase of the food price. Yeah. Okay. So how Malaysian can, how we as a consumer can reduce or can manage the food waste. Yeah, food waste. How we can handle it. So here, the food retailer can donate the leftover the food to NGOs, but it's also happened in Malaysia right now. Some of the retailers, like we have the hypermarket like Lotus, Maiden here, Giant, they give the food to a few NGOs, and these NGOs will distribute food to the charities or welfare, to homes, to any refugees communities, to the poor family, and also for the soup kitchens. And it happened during the pandemic last time. Yeah, but till now it's still use it, but I'm not sure about whether they still the food retailer still give the food to this kind of NGOs or this kind of organizations. But for the consumer, okay, let's talk about consumer. Consumer, first of all, during the purchasing. Why the purchasing? Because you need to practice the consumer control points, and also you can compose by composting the food waste. So what is consumer control point? So when we say about consumer control point, normally consumer control points is the points for the food preparation where it can be contaminated. Normally when we say about consumer control points, it's more focusing on the food safety. However, CCP or consumer control point can be used to manage the food waste. Yeah, because at the first step of the consumer control point is the purchasing. So the purchasing is very important here. Why? Because when we do the purchasing, first of all, are we buy food that we need, or are we buy food because we want to buy it? That is the question that we need to answer. As a consumer, first of all, for me, you must buy food based on what you need or based what our household needs. So that when we do the budgeting, when we do the list of the food itself, we should state that number one, what is it? Is it rice? Number two, meat, veggies, fruits, and so on. Because of what? Because if you buy food without planning, then you buy food with a large amount, and sometimes some of the food is not used, and then when it is expired, you throw it away. This is happen among Malaysian lot. Even though if you went to back to your hometown, or if you went to a community aspect, most of them buy food because not because they need it, but because the price itself. Some of the retailers, especially the hypermarkets, they sell food that is cheaper, but the expiry date is very short, meaning that the food itself dah nak masuk tamat tempoh lah, we call it. So when it is expired, then they will sell it with the cheaper one, with the cheaper price. So people tend to buy it in a large amount. What happens when they go home? They don't use it because they buy in a large amount, not because of they need it, but they buy it because of the price. That is one thing that we need to think about it. And then first of all, after that, you must also, when you do the purchasing, see the expiry date. Please buy the food that is already still have a long shelf life. If you buy food that is a shorter shelf life, when you go home, you are not used that kind of food. Yeah. Okay. That's about the purchasing. First of all, the purchasing. If we are not control our purchasing, then we started to do the food waste. Okay, next about the purchasing is the storing. This is also important. A lot of the consumer don't know how to store their food. So we must follow the FIFO concept, meaning that first in and first out. If you still have, okay, let's say when you buy food and then you see the expiry date. Normally the new food that we bought, we must store it at the back of the old one, so we can use the old one. Then the new food that we buy, we can use later. The problem is about the storing itself. Lots of the consumer in Malaysia also not use this kind of concept, first in and first out. They most like housewife, for example, when they went to the market, they buy vegetables, they just store in the refrigerator. So it's stored in the peti ais ataupun peti sejuk refrigerator at the top of the old one. So when they are cooking, what happens? They will take the new one, the old one still in there. So when we not use the old food, then the food will be expired and will be thrown away. That is how the food waste happen. Yeah. Okay. Next, about the preparation. When we do the preparation of food, when we prepare food, first of all, we must know how much that we want to cook. It's based on the household, whether you want to cook by yourself or whether you want to cook by for your family. So how many members of your family? Let's say 5 of them. Then when you prepare the food to cook, please prepare just enough for our household member, just enough for one dishes, because that is the culture. Even though I think same in Indonesia also, the most of the household, most of the housewife, for example, mother or any kind of female punya women, they cook food in a large amount because they punya, let's say, cook in a large amount because they assume that all the family members want to eat it. But the problem is some of the family members maybe not eat at home. They are eat outside. So what happened to that food? It will be leftover. So the problem about leftover here, I will talk later about the leftover. Yeah. Okay. That's during the preparing. When you prepare food to cook, please prepare. It's just enough for a meal. Let's say for the lunch, so just cook for lunch. Or if you want to cook for 2 members of the family, just cook for 2 members of them, so that we not waste a lot of food during the preparation. And also during the cooking. The cooking itself is very important because besides the food safety, you must cook food hot, and then you must prepare food that is cold on the temperature itself. But when you do the cooking, you should cook enough only for the meal at that time, not cook lunch and direct through for your dinner. Because during the dinner, for example, a few of the family members will go out because they have appointment there, they have already have a function and everything. And then what happened to the food that is not eaten by the family member? Yeah. And another thing about the serving, just now, I already told you about the serving. Okay, for the retailers, food retailers, when you do the buffet, we can see a lot, yeah. But I think in the hotel or in the hospitality area, normally they are prepared food based on the how many people that stay in that hotel, right? And then they will cook food phase by phase, meaning that one is already finished, then you will replace that, right? But not in Malaysia, for example, it's quite same for in the hotel, but not in the during the function like the wedding. Wedding function, normally they cook food as long as they serve the food is not in a small amount. They will serve in a large amount, and then that food, some of the food is not be eaten by the guests, and then what happened? The food itself. Okay, in the Malay culture, normally we will packing and then give to the guests to take home. But in the modern style right now, they are not packing, so they will throw it away. So that is what happens if you do the serving of the food itself, yeah. And then the last one is about the handling leftover. The problem about handling leftover here, normally where we are not eat food that is left over, we will refrigerate it or we will store in the refrigerator. But okay, let's say in Malaysia, I talk about Malaysia. Most of the housewife, most of the mother, they will cook again next day with a new food. What happened to the leftover? Still in the refrigerator, and then after a few days, they will throw that food away. That's why when I said just now, when you prepare food, when you cooking food, just cook during for that meal time only, not for the when you cook food for lunch and then you save it for your dinner. No, because this is happen, and this is happen. This is what happened when we see the statistic just now. Most of the food are throw away because we not eat it. And then when we said about the leftover, food can be consumed only for the 4 days, not more than that. So that's why in Malaysia, I just told about Malaysia situation. In Malaysia, a lot of people throw away food, especially the leftover food that they are stored in the refrigerator. In the household aspect. Yeah. So another thing about the food itself, about composting lah. Composting right now, people try to compost, but the problem is, the main problem is, they are use that composting for their apa orang kata for their bercucuk tanam tu. You do the composting, but for what? People in Malaysia, we said about Malaysia. In Malaysia, they are always follow the trend. So when people do the composting, so I will do the composting too. Other people do the waste management, I will do it. But for what? You have enough enough land to bercucuk tanam tu? That is another thing. If you want to the composting, yes, but in a big in a big community, yes. But for the individual, those that stay in the apartment, those that stay in the condominium, they don't have any land. So what for they do the composting? There is another thing that we need to think about it. But composting is good if you use it to apa Dr. Cheng bercucuk tanam in English?
Harvest.
To harvest vegetables and so on. If you have a land, then it's okay. But if you stay in the high-rise building, I don't think the composting is good for us. But we still can have the composting and sell it and to get the money. Part of it lah. So this is the a few type of material that we can used to do the composting, from the green one and also from the brown. For example, here food and vegetable scraps, moss, grass, clipping and yard trim, coffee ground and paper filters, paper tea bag with no staples, and also eggshells that we crush it. And then for the carbon-rich material, the brown one, dry leaf, plant stalks and twigs, shredded paper, and also we have shredded cardboard with no wet coating tape or glue, and also untreated wood chips. So, in conclusion, I can say here to reduce the food waste, consumer needs to change their lifestyle. So how? By the changing food purchasing habit. First of all, we need to change our purchasing habit. Buy only what we need, but not because of the price of the food and not because of the advertisement that happen in the media, social and everything. Sometimes we buy food because of that advertisement. Yeah, and also consumer needs to buy food based on their needs rather than what they want to eat. Always use food labels. Practice FIFO. uh, Prepare and cook food enough for themselves for every meal and compost the leftover food. So that's all, Dr. Chen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samsul Azahari Zainal Baderi. So now we will proceed to the Q&A section. Okay. So if you have any questions, please write down your question in the chat box. So currently, we have 2 questions in the chat box. Okay, so now let's look at the first question. Is there any ways to educate publics to encourage anti-food waste behavior? Maybe we can ask the opinion from Dr. Endor Wijaya and then followed by Dr. Sam.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jack. So actually, Dr. Sam, well, maybe early before answering the questions, I think we have a lot of similarities between our country, our people, especially. So Malaysia, Indonesia, actually could be relatives because I must share a similar things about that. Okay. So all right. So I'll go back to answer the question. So Mr. No, sorry if I'm pronounced wrong. Okay. So yes, one of my proposition is according to the stimuli organism and response. Actually, we can encourage them, or we can encourage public. So actually, as I mentioned earlier, learning from the public transport things that I mentioned earlier, that Surabaya people could use the public transport without paying any money, but only exchanging the plastic bottle or some kind like that. So if I'm not mistaken, 4 bottles of around a half liter, 4 bottles equal with 1 trip, some kind like that. So we can deposit that. So yes, in conceptually, yes, we can do, although maybe some difficulties are found in the future. Yeah, but we can push some stimuli from our people to do something that maybe will be benefit for them. So, for example, like a bank sampah, like a food waste bank or something like that. So they will deposit in the local community that in exchange as a credit point that could be exchanged also for basic needs. For example, cooking oil, eggs, or maybe some kind like a rice. Right now they're rising up the price. So it's some kind like a stimulus that maybe could lead to another behavior or public behavior into a better one. But you know, this is literally only just a theoretically, but in the reality, it's quite difficult, especially with the different level of people around us. So yes, still possible, and I think our intervention we do sure ya, we are sure yakin gitu ya that people can change. But how long we should take? Yeah, different separately. Yeah. So maybe we can start from our immediate close relative or maybe some environment. So yeah, maybe I'd like to also add some Dr. Samsul said about the composting. Yes, the same problem happened during my research that the moody of the waste collector. So actually in some housing areas in Surabaya are collectively minutes for composting for people. So in some urban or maybe it's not suburban areas, some people are still use composting to get some farming, some kind of local farming. But the difference also happen for those who live in the high rise or at least in the more our central business district area, especially for the restaurant term is also from the mall things. So a lot of restaurants also they are not a standalone business, so they're part of the mall. And then actually, our government also already provide with some space to composting, as composting bin in some places area. But yeah, the problem also back in the human. They are too lazy to come to put it everything there because there's no benefit for them as well because they're walking quite far and then it will take a lot of time and that will be by me a lot of time, which is actually I will don't have the benefit from itself. So I think that's the common problem also as well in Surabaya regarding composting things. All right, I think that's a Dr. Cheng. Dr. Samsul, please.
Okay. Regarding what the question just now, Dr. Cheng?
Are there any ways to educate public to encourage anti-food waste behavior?
Yeah, okay. For this one, encourage the public. When we say about encourage the public, of course lah, the government need to do advocation program, any kind of the consumer program that stated what impact of the food waste to the environment, to the consumer itself, and also to the community. But the main thing here, when we want to encourage the public, just I told you just now, because every of us purchasing food. So from that, first of all, we need to purchase food because what we need that food, not because we want to to have that food. That's another thing when we want to encourage people. Please choose food wisely, especially when you do the TikTok, when you serve the TikTok, you serve the Instagram or any kind of media, social media. Lots of people, lots of the influencer try to attract you with the new type of food, with a new kind of restaurant and everything. But please choose wisely because not all food is what we need, right? So that is another thing when we said about the how to encourage people, because the food waste is happen once you buy food that is not you want to eat it. You buy food because of this kind of thing lah, because of the advertisement, because other people try. Let's say lots of people here want to try the new food. When they taste it, it's not good, then they will throw it away. That is another thing that happened. I think worldwide. Once we have a new type of food, then we try to have them, right? So once it is not good enough for our taste, then we throw it. That's why we need to wisely purchase the food, because when we buy food, we need to choose wisely and then base what we need, not base what we want. That's it.
Thank you very much for the useful insights from the two speakers. And we have, I think we have one more question from the audience. Okay, the question goes to, many cultures requires huge food consumptions in various occasions. For example, marriage and corporate events to show politeness and courtesies. This will result in food waste. May I know your opinions in this subject matter? Maybe let's start with Dr. Endo again, and then
Okay.
followed by Dr. Sen.
Yeah, this is, I think, this kind of culture happen in any kind of culture. Yeah, and I agree that we cannot eliminate at all this kind of food waste matter. Otherwise, maybe in Chinese say it's 糟糕. Okay, so but actually, what I'm trying to understand that maybe some of our the one who start or the host will I encourage them to prepare for the any kind of the excess food, something like that. For example, like as Dr. Samson said that these days hotels will not provide any kind of packaging to take away. I don't know with any kind of the reasons, because actually some hotel also are very strict for the hygiene factor, something like that. So more than 4 hours or more. Yeah. But actually, on behalf of us as the buyer, we still can do something else. For example, right now in Surabaya, people tend to first call some kind like a food bank, something that I mentioned earlier, Garda Pangan. There's some food bank that also accept food, something like that. Or perhaps we like to provide, as Dr. Samsul said, it's also similar with Indonesia, but we provide ourselves with the package, sometimes of plastic or something like that, to give it back to our guests sometimes. But the most important things usually during the main event, though I don't know if the same happened in Malaysia or not. Some carb things, carbohydrate things like a rice or something else, maybe noodles and vegetables. Sometimes they are tend to be leftover, become leftover. For something like meat, chicken, maybe they will be finished during the event. But some the secondary food type, something like that, usually they will use become a leftover. So yeah, sometimes we will do that. We keep it for ourselves. We keep it to the guests, or sometimes we will deliver it to the food banks, something like that. So maybe the reserves will have any other of suggestions, please.
Okay, regarding with the events, even the wedding events or corporate events, right now, I think people try to normally they will invite you, and then we need your feedback whether you come or not, right? Because it's happened in Malaysia right now. When you have any meeting, they will ask you whether you will come for the meeting or you come for the event, so that they can provide food based on the guests that attend during that time. So that is another thing how they want to reduce the food waste. The problem is some of the people, even though they are not said that they want to attend it, but they still attend it. So this is a problem when for the food for the caterer especially, because the host will give a few amount so that the food can be prepared for the amount of the guests during that time. But when there is some people that is not, let's say, not care enough to say that they will come or not, and then suddenly they will come, that is happen. If the food is not enough, people will scold or we angry with the host because the host not prepare food enough for the guest. But the problem is the guest. This is the guest problem. That's why we need to have this kind of culture. When we invited them to come for any event, they need to answer or they need to reply whether they will come or not, so that the host can prepare food just enough for the guests on during that time. That is another. The problem is in the urban area, yes, we can do it, but in the rural area, you cannot do that because the culture. I think it's same with the other places or other countries. when we are inviting them for the wedding or for any kind of event, we need to prepare food in a large amount so that we can provide them with enough of the food itself. The problem is some of the guests not eat lot, right? That is the problem. So right now, if the host can pack food for them, it's okay. But some of the hosts not doing it. So the leftover will happen. The food waste will happen because a lot of food not be consumed by the guest itself.
Thank you very much. So now let me double check. Are there any question in the chat room that hasn't been answered? Okay, I think this is just the information from our audience. Containing food waste is a fundamental of improving people's lifestyle, which leads to positive well-being. Thank you for sharing the insights and importance of this topic. Much appreciated. Okay, so I think we already finished all the question in the chat room. So I think that's all for the Q&A session this afternoon. Okay, so now we will proceed to the next segment. Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a photography session. Please turn on your camera to have a group photos together. So maybe we can wait for 1 more minute for everyone to get ready with their camera. Okay. And then we will proceed to the group photo session. Okay, so please turn on your camera and we are going to have a group photos before we end these sessions. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, hold on. Okay, one more. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's all for our online symposium today. We hope you enjoyed the session just now. Lastly, please remember to scan the QR code for the attendance and the certificate of participations. Honor. Okay. Here come to the end of our online symposiums today. Thank you very much once again to Dr. Endo Wijaya Katika and Dr. Samsul Azhari Zana Badari. To all the audience and Microsoft teams, thank you very much for staying on. We hope to see you again in our next online symposium. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sam.
See you on November.
Yeah, of course. Let me know whether you arrive to Surabaya, yeah?
Yeah. I will get your contact number from the Cheng.
Yes, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sam, and thank you, Dr. Endo. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cheng. Permission.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Lagi bang? No bang. No. Tôi lại riêng rồi này. Đây. Nhưng beri napak ấy. Đi nè. Nếu mấy người ta hao cho mình. by the knob. Ngày nhìn ông cất chùa sáng ở tôn khai tôn rồi từ mưa xa